So the kite I'm going to make is called Malaysian in Czech Republic, and I'm pretty sure that no one in Malaysia ever heard of it. But it looks like this. It is made of two sticks and it is slightly off-centered and it is wider than taller, and the horizontal piece is slightly bent, which helps the stability in a low wind situation. The kites are traditionally made out of wooden sticks like these ones, and they are tied together with a thread and a little bit of glue. And that makes it a permanent structure, so you cannot dismantle the kite when you are not flying it. And for the kite of my dimensions, which is 4 meters wide and 3 meters tall, this is just a no-go. So I had to come up with a different material, and I found this carbon fiber tubing. It is 6 mm outer diameter, 1 mm wall thickness, and it is light enough, strong enough, and rigid enough, and I think it will be a good replacement for the wooden sticks. One of the challenges is to find a way how to connect the tubes together in a strong enough yet temporary enough way, and I once again opted for a 3D printed parts. There are 6 different types and they help to form the structure in this way. Each of these pieces will connect the carbon tubing together, like this. And the shape of the outer pieces copies the shape of the kite and therefore the shape of the cover paper. But I cannot use the traditional cover paper because it is very fragile and it is meant to be one use only. So I found this beautiful light and windproof fabric from which I will sew the cover for the kite. So with a fabric like this, the first thing to do is dial up your sewing machine. So I took a sample of the fabric and just started to lay one seam after another and to learn how the fabric behaves with the current settings. So the first seam is with the basic settings of the machine, and you can see that there are a lot of wrinkles alongside of the seam, and that usually means that the thread is pulling the fabric together. So I try to gradually reduce the tension of the thread, but that didn't seem to make much of a difference. So I try to focus on changing the length of the step of the seam, and with 2 more tries I found the setting which suits me the best. The second thing to focus on was the edge treatment, because there are very fine threads coming out of the fabric. So I tried a simple overseam, but that didn't work because the light fabric just crumbled beneath the foot. So I tried the double folding method, that you take the edge, double fold it and then put a straight seam, and that result is very nice. So that's enough talking. Now I need to cut 2 4-meter strips out of this fabric. Unfortunately, I'm not able to do this on the table, so I will flip it up and do this on the floor. Okay, the 2 strips are done, and while I'm at it, I think I will cut out the top 2 triangles. Okay, both of the triangles are out, and now I will sew both of the pieces together. There are many ways how to sew two pieces of fabric together. One of them, the most simple one, is that you take two pieces of cloth, line them up, sew them together, and then open up them like this. This is a very simple way, but it will leave you with two exposed edges on the other side of the piece. The complicated way how to do this is to line them up like this with a little bit of seam allowance. Then fold the seam allowance inside and do the seam on the inner side of the overlap. Once you have this, you will overlap this again and do once again seam on the far side of the overlap. You will end up with two seams, which will make this connection much stronger, and there will be no exposed edge. The biggest challenge of this project is the logistics of it. In the end, I have to manage quite a big piece of fabric. But there are no two ways about it apart from doing this, so let's do this. So the first part of the seam is done, and now I have to flip it and sew the other end. Okay, the double seam is done, and despite the conditions and the limited experience, it came out quite nice. But now, on to the even more difficult part. I already cut off the top triangles, and now I need to cut off the bottom ones. This is probably the most complicated part of the project, and if I do any mistake, I probably have to scrap the whole project, so fingers crossed. And then I realized that our local community center has a room specifically made for building kites like this one. So all I have to do is to measure a line from that corner to this center and that corner to the same center and cut off the triangles. So this is the final shape of the kite, and the next thing is to do the edge treatment on all edges. But that I will have to do in my cold workshop. Next part is to create the corner pockets which will hold the plastic parts. They have to be semi-open because they need to receive a fishing line, and I will use a cut-off fabric that I will mold into the shape of the pocket. Okay, the corner pockets are done, and now I need to trim the tubing to actually fit the dimensions of the cloth. And also I need to cut the hole for the centerpiece. The tubing sticks out this much, but I only need to cut a half of it, and the other half I need to cut on the other side. And the same thing I need to do for the top and the bottom part. That's done, and the truly last thing to do on this kite before taking this onto the field is to cut out the hole for the centerpiece where the fishing line will go. Okay, that's it, and let's take it to the field. I'm heading to the highest place around here. It's like 600 meters above sea level. There are huge fields, and there is a very big radio transmitter, and I think it will be the perfect place for flying. It is sure a beautiful autumn day. The leaves are getting yellow, falling down from trees, and the color of the sky is just this very nice hue of blue. It's my favorite time of year. Okay, here we are. So that didn't go well. There was actually a couple of problems with the kite and with the design and the selection of materials, and one of them being the selection of the tubing. I originally opted for a 10mm outer diameter, then I scaled it down to 6mm because I was worrying about the overall weight of the kite. But that thin tubing is just not rigid enough. It is very bendy, so the kite couldn't hold the actual shape. What pleased me actually was the fabric. The fabric is very light. It's not exactly complicated to sew it together. The price was also very cheap, so the selection of the fabric is just fantastic. And if I'm about to do another kite in the future, I will definitely use the same fabric. The other thing which I'm pleased about is the plastic parts, the couplings, the centerpiece and the corner pieces. It took me a few tests just to find out the perfect combination of the wall thickness and some features that will make it stronger. And what was the most crucial thing was the orientation for the printing. I, in the beginning, started to print it like this because this will result in a very precise shape of the hole, but this just snapped in the layers very quickly. So the final orientation was horizontal, and that resulted in very strong piece of plastic with a very low weight. And the last thing which I didn't anticipate was how complicated it is to put the kite together on the field in the strong winds. So that's all for this one, and I hope you enjoyed at least some parts of this project, and I hopefully see you next time. Bye. What a mess.